Few thinkers have shaken the world like Karl Marx. His ideas ignited revolutions. They reshaped nations. Even today his work sparks debate on economics, politics, and society. But who was Karl Marx? And why do his ideas still resonate in the 21st century? Born in 1818, Marx lived in a time of great upheaval. The Industrial Revolution was transforming societies. It created vast wealth but also immense poverty. Marx dedicated his life to understanding these changes. He wanted to unravel the forces shaping history. Marx's most powerful idea was historical materialism. It argues that economics drive history. The way we produce goods shapes our social relations and our ideas. Marx believed that societies evolve through stages. Each stage is marked by conflict between different classes. Marx's work was not just theoretical. He was a revolutionary. He believed in overthrowing capitalism. He envisioned a classless society where everyone shares the fruits of labor. His ideas inspired movements across the globe, from Russia to China to Cuba. Karl Marx was born in Trier, Germany in 1818. Trier, a city with a rich history dating back to the Roman Empire, provided a unique backdrop for Marx's early years. The cultural and historical influences of this ancient city would later play a role in shaping his worldview. His family was Jewish, but his father converted to Christianity for professional reasons. This conversion was not just a personal decision, but a reflection of the broader societal pressures of the time. The Prussian state imposed restrictions on Jews, and conversion was often seen as a way to gain social and economic advantages. This background influenced Marx's views on religion and society. Growing up in a family that had to navigate the complexities of religious identity, Marx developed a critical perspective on how religion intersected with power and social structures. He saw religion as a tool used by the powerful to control the masses. Marx famously described religion as the opium of the people, a way to keep the working class subdued and distracted from their material struggles. Marx studied law and philosophy at university. His academic journey took him to the University of Bonn and later to the University of Berlin, where he immersed himself in the study of various philosophical and legal theories. He was drawn to the ideas of Hegel, a German philosopher. Hegel's dialectical method, which emphasized the resolution of contradictions through synthesis, fascinated Marx and provided a framework for his own thinking. Hegel believed that history was driven by the clash of ideas. This concept of dialectical progression, where each stage of history is a result of conflicting ideas, resonated deeply with Marx. Marx admired Hegel's focus on historical progress. He saw in Hegel's work a way to understand the unfolding of human history and the potential for societal transformation. However, he disagreed with Hegel's emphasis on ideas. Marx believed that it was not just ideas, but the material conditions of life that drove historical change. Marx believed that material conditions, not just ideas, shaped history. The Industrial Revolution, with its stark contrast between the wealth of the capitalists and the poverty of the workers, provided a clear example of how economic factors influenced societal structures. After university, Marx worked as a journalist. His career in journalism allowed him to engage directly with the pressing social and political issues of his time. He wrote about social and political issues. His articles were not just reports but incisive critiques of the status quo, challenging the existing power structures and advocating for change. His writing was sharp and critical. Marx's pen became a powerful tool in his fight against the injustices he saw around him. He attacked the injustices of capitalism. Marx's critiques were rooted in his observations of the harsh realities faced by the working class during the Industrial Revolution. His work attracted the attention of authorities. The radical nature of his writings made him a target for those in power who sought to maintain the status quo. He was forced to flee Germany in 1843. Marx's exile marked the beginning of a period of constant movement and instability as he sought refuge in various European cities. Marx eventually settled in London, England. London, with its vibrant intellectual and political scene, became the perfect place for Marx to continue his work. There he met Friedrich Engels. Engels, the son of a wealthy industrialist, shared Marx's revolutionary zeal and provided both intellectual and financial support. Engels became his lifelong friend and collaborator. Their partnership was one of the most significant intellectual collaborations in history. Together, they developed the theory of historical materialism. This theory posited that the material conditions of a society's mode of production fundamentally determine its organization and development. They co-authored the Communist Manifesto, a call to action for the working class. This seminal work laid the foundation for modern socialist and communist movements, advocating for the overthrow of capitalist systems and the establishment of a classless society. At the heart of Marx's thought lies historical materialism. This concept is not just a dry academic theory but a powerful lens through which we can view the evolution of human societies. It provides a comprehensive understanding of the forces that drive historical change and the development of civilizations. This theory offers a framework for understanding how societies change over time. It delves into the underlying economic structures that shape the social, political, and cultural aspects of life. By examining these structures, we can uncover the root causes of societal transformations and the progression from one historical epoch to another. It argues that the way humans produce their material needs is the foundation of society. This means that the methods and relations of production, how goods are made and who controls this process, are central to understanding the organization and development of any society. This mode of production shapes everything from social relations to political systems to ideas. The economic base of a society influences its superstructure, which includes its legal and political institutions, as well as its cultural and ideological expressions. Thus, the material conditions of life are the driving force behind historical change. Marx identified different stages of history. Each stage represents a distinct mode of production and a unique set of social relations. By studying these stages, we can trace the evolution of human societies and understand the dynamics of historical development. Each stage had its own mode of production and class structure. Primitive communism, slavery, feudalism, and capitalism are some examples. In primitive communism, there was no private property, and resources were shared communally. Slavery introduced a system where slaves were the property of their masters, while feudalism was characterized by the relationship between lords and serfs. Capitalism, the most recent stage, is marked by private ownership of the means of production and the creation of a wage labor force. This stage has brought about unprecedented technological advancements and economic growth, but it has also led to significant social inequalities and exploitation. In each stage, a ruling class controls the means of production. This class has the power to shape the economic and social structures to its advantage, often at the expense of the subordinate classes. The ruling class's dominance is maintained through various means, including political power, cultural hegemony, and sometimes outright coercion. This control allows them to exploit the labor of the subordinate class. The surplus value generated by the labor of the working class is appropriated by the ruling class, leading to the accumulation of wealth and power in the hands of a few. This exploitation is a central feature of all class societies and is the source of social conflict and tension. For Marx, history is a story of class struggle. The conflicts between different classes drive historical change and lead to the transformation of societies. These struggles are not just economic but also political and ideological, as different classes seek to assert their interests and visions for the future. The oppressed class, driven by its material conditions, rises up against the ruling class. This resistance can take many forms, from everyday acts of defiance to organized revolutionary movements. The struggle for emancipation is a constant feature of human history, as people seek to overcome oppression and create a more just and equitable society. This conflict leads to a new mode of production and a new stage of history. Each revolutionary change brings about a reorganization of society, with new economic structures, social relations, and political institutions. These transformations are often accompanied by significant upheaval and struggle, but they also open up new possibilities for human development. Capitalism, for Marx, is not the end of history. He saw it as a necessary but flawed stage. While capitalism has driven technological progress and economic growth, it has also created deep social inequalities and environmental degradation. Marx believed that capitalism's inherent contradictions would eventually lead to its downfall. He saw it as a necessary but flawed stage. The concentration of wealth and power in the hands of a few, the exploitation of workers, and the cyclical crises of overproduction and underconsumption are all symptoms of capitalism's fundamental instability. He believed that capitalism creates its own gravediggers, the working class. As workers become more aware of their exploitation and organize collectively, they have the potential to challenge the capitalist system and create a new, more equitable society. By concentrating workers in factories, capitalism creates the conditions for their eventual unity and revolution. The shared experiences of exploitation and the development of class consciousness can lead to a powerful movement for social change. Marx envisioned a future where the working class would overthrow the capitalist system and establish a classless communist society where the means of production are owned collectively and the exploitation of labor is abolished. Marx's theory of history is closely tied to the concept of dialectical materialism. This theory is not just a dry academic concept, but a dynamic and revolutionary way of understanding the world. It provides a framework for analyzing the historical development of human societies and the conflicts that drive social change. This philosophical approach, adapted from Hegel, sees change as the result of internal contradictions. Hegel's dialectics focused on the realm of ideas, but Marx turned this on its head, grounding it in the material conditions of life. For Marx, it wasn't the clash of ideas that drove history, but the clash of economic interests. For Marx, these contradictions are rooted in the material world, particularly in the clash between the forces of production and the relations of production. The forces of production include the tools, technology, and labor power used to produce goods, while the relations of production refer to the social relationships and property arrangements that govern production. Capitalism, with its inherent conflict between capitalists and workers, embodies this dialectical process. The capitalists who own the means of production seek to maximize their profits, while the workers, who sell their labor, seek to improve their wages and working conditions. This fundamental opposition creates a dynamic tension within the capitalist system. The drive for profit leads capitalists to exploit workers. This exploitation is not just a moral issue but a structural feature of capitalism. Workers are paid less than the value of what they produce, and this surplus value is appropriated by the capitalists as profit. This creates a situation where the wealth generated by the workers is concentrated in the hands of a few. This exploitation creates antagonism and the potential for revolution. As workers become more aware of their exploitation, they begin to organize and resist. Historical labor strikes and worker protests are manifestations of this growing class consciousness. The tension between the exploited and the exploiters can reach a breaking point, leading to social upheaval. Marx believed that the eventual outcome of this struggle would be a classless communist society. In this vision, the contradictions of capitalism would be resolved through the abolition of class distinctions. The end goal is a society where the free development of each is the condition for the free development of all. In this utopia, private property would be abolished. This doesn't mean personal belongings, but the private ownership of the means of production. Factories, land, and resources would be collectively owned and managed by the community, ensuring that the wealth produced benefits everyone. The means of production would be owned collectively. This collective ownership would eliminate the exploitation inherent in capitalism. Instead of working for the profit of a few, people would work for the common good. This would fundamentally change the nature of work and social relations. This would eliminate exploitation and create a society where everyone contributes according to their ability and receives according to their needs. The principle of from each according to his ability to each according to his needs would guide the distribution of resources, ensuring that everyone's basic needs are met and that people can develop their full potential. The transition to communism, Marx argued, would not be peaceful. The ruling class would not give up their power and privileges without a fight. History has shown that significant social changes often come through struggle and conflict. He envisioned a proletarian revolution. This revolution would be led by the working class, who would rise up against the capitalist system. The goal would be to overthrow the existing state apparatus and establish a new form of governance based on the principles of socialism. The working class would seize control of the state and implement socialist policies. These policies would aim to dismantle the structures of capitalist exploitation and build a new society based on collective ownership and democratic control of the means of production. This would pave the way for the eventual withering away of the state and the emergence of a truly classless society. In this final stage, the state, which exists to manage class conflicts, would become unnecessary. Social harmony would be achieved, and the state would gradually dissolve, leaving a self-regulating, classless society where human potential